Right, boys and girls, what I want to show you today is the rocker shaft assembly. Now, when you've took it off the car and you've broke it down and stripped it down and degreased everything, and you've checked your parts for wear, etc, etc, take a picture of it before you take it apart, and also reassemble it back in the order in which you dismantled it. Now, you've got your manual to give you a guide, so follow that where you need to. And these shafts, you can get these shafts on Bull Motif or any of the owners club forums. Make sure you've got your split pin in the end to start rebuilding. I've checked this shaft and it's quite serviceable, and I'm quite happy to use this shaft again. So make sure all your parts are in the order in which you're going to assemble them. And we'll start off with a spacer. Just give the shaft a little rubber grease and you'll find that the parts go down a lot easier. So you have a spacer first, which I've placed on there. Then we've got like a little retaining spring, spring there. Then we've got our rocker. Slide our rocker on. This would be the back of the engine, and that is the front of the engine. So this is the first rocker going on. Then we've got the pedestal. Now the pedestal, you'll notice the pedestals have got a little hole right the way through, like your shell bearings had. Now just give that a clean out, get a pipe clean and just bung it in there. It's all been degreased, so we know that that's clear. And just give it a clean. That ensures that you're getting oil up to your rocker shaft. Then we put the pedestal on into the assembly. And give it a little blab of grease at the bottom if you want, because it doesn't help and it'll help lubricate things. Then we get our next rocker shaft, slide that on. Now on these rocker shafts, I'll just point this out to you. You've got an adjustment. Now I always open those right up to the end like that. It saves you fiddling about when you're trying to set the valve. So open it up and just make sure the retaining nut that locks in place is free. And you'll find that's an easy way to do it. So again, follow the same rebuild process. Get them all the right way around. You want the adjustments on the adjustment end, which goes on you want the adjustments to make sure that they're on the adjustment end of the cam, of the shaft, that correspond with your push rods. It's no good putting them that way on, one that way and one the other way. So make sure they're all the same, otherwise you'll just have to dismantle it again. So I know that this is the right, sorry. First we've got the spring. Then we've got the rocker thingy again. Give it a little rub over with the grease. It's the rockers that revolve around the shaft. It's not the shaft that moves. The shaft is stationary all the time. It's the rocker arm that revolves around the shaft. Again, I've cleaned out the hole in there. Make sure you've got your pedestals the right way around as well. These pedestals have got a base on them. Quite a wide base and then a narrow bit, so make sure you've got that in exact order that you dismantled it. And it's simply just a case of building it back up again. Get your rocker shaft, your rocker arm on, a little bit of grease, and your spring. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see this all right. A little spring, then you put your next arm on, give it a little bit of a lubrication with the grease. Then your next pedestal, make sure it's the right way around. All the bases need to be the right way around. Don't worry about them spinning round. Don't worry about any of that. You don't need to worry about that. As long as you've got them in the right way around and the right order. We can straighten them out later. Give it a bit more grease. Put our next rocker arm on. Make sure they're all the right way around, look. All the ends need to be the same. If you've got one at that end, it's wrong. So make sure they're all in the right order. And again, put your spring on your next rocker shaft. Now, the final pedestal, you'll see has got a grommet inside it. And what that grommet does, it locks the rocker shaft into the pedestal, so that the rocker shaft won't revolve and turn round along with the rocker arms. So you must make sure that that's in the right place. And in this particular case, it's on the last one. It's on the front of the engine. And you'll see in the rocker shaft itself, And the rocker shaft itself, you'll see it's got a large hole cut out for it, and it's threaded, and that pedestal has got to go. That pedestal has got to go on that hole. Unscrew the grommet, slide onto the shaft. Unscrew the grommet and then line it up with the grommet, and you'll know it's in the right place because then the grommet will screw in like so, and you just need to nip that up. And I generally just nip it up with the pliers. You don't need to tighten it right up because you just don't want it coming out, but there's a locking tab goes over that and stops that from moving, so don't tighten it, over tighten it, because you'll have to slacken it off. It's just so that it lines up, and I know it goes horizontal to that, so just make sure it's not going to fall out, and that's locked that into place. Then all you do then, just to make sure, a final check, turn all your pedestals the right way around. Make sure all your rocker arms are facing the right way around, and it will start looking more like a completed rocker shaft, and it'll sit level like so. We've got one more rocker arm to put on. We've got a little spring that fits on at the end of that. We've got our washer that fits on that, and if you look then, we've just got our split pin to put in. Now, slide your split pin in, split pin in, make sure you bend it over, guys, don't forget to do that so it'll just drop out. Split pin in so it won't come out. And that's our rock assembly fully built up, that being in the right way. If that's the front of the engine, that's the locating grommet that screws into the shaft, and it's these that revolve, not the shaft. The shaft doesn't move at all. The shaft is fixed firmly because we've got it locked in place on that pedestal. And that's our rocker assembly, stripped down, cleaned, checked and rebuilt. And that's taken us 7 minutes to do that. Now obviously clean it all up before you do it, and you can see that everything's moving freely. You can just see because you've got it all on the springs. It's all moving nice and free, and that will all bed in to the shaft. So that's that part done. All we've got to do then, guys, is to put it on the top of the cylinder head, which I'm going to do right now. I'll just pause the video and get it ready for you. Right, guys, we've just reassembled the rocker shaft, and what we're going to do now is we're going to install it on top of the cylinder head. Now, I asked you to make sure that all these were slackened up to the top, because then you're not going to bend any push rods or anything when you're assembling it. So make sure they're all screwed to the top, and then we've just got to it's just a case of lining it up onto the top of our push rods. Make sure you're not trapping anything, and then it'll gradually slide down the you might have to just give it a little tap, because we've disassembled everything, so it will just take a bit of juggling. There it's in now, look. So we make sure that all our rocker arms are seated in the push rod. Don't tighten anything down until you've got those seated into the cup on the push rod. Just adjust them all so that they're all just in the seat. And we know that the push rods at the bottom are in the cam follower. We're just making sure that those are in there before we go any further. And what I generally do, just to make sure, just wind them in a little bit, just to make sure that they're in place. And you can see it's lifting the arm a little bit, but all we're doing is just making sure that they're located in the push rod. because if one of them's just sitting on the edge, it'll bend your push rod when you're tightening it down. So they're all in there. They're all in the cups of the push rod. That's all we want to do just at this stage. We don't want to be bending anything. And now we can see everything in place. So I'll just pause the video and get the rest of the assembly for you. Right guys, we've got our rocker shaft back onto the block, onto the top of the head, and what we're going to do now is just make sure that we've got everything right. This little grommet what I told you about that locks the arm in place, it's got a lock tab on it, and you'll see that lock tab fits over there and stops that from coming undone. Make sure you put that on before you do anything, otherwise that will come undone. Then guys, it's just a case of putting your washers on. And you'll notice the two longer bolts are at the ends, and that's for your rocker cover. We'll just get the 4 bolts that we need, the 4 nuts that we need. And again, it's just a case of screwing this down. And once we've got these finger tight, we can then tighten the cylinder head. We don't want to tighten this yet, because this is the job for after we've got the cylinder head torqued down. But this is just the job for now. Make sure we've got them all screwed down. They're all in place. We can then put our final cylinder head. We can then put our final cylinder head bolts. And again, we just want to make sure that everything screws down nicely with our fingers. Take your time. Just make sure everything is in the right place. It's easy to do things with the fingers, and then if you've got to dismantle for any reason, you know that it's not going to be a spanner job, you want strips of thread. So we know that everything's there in the right place. We know that the push rods, the rocker arms, are pressing on the push rods. And what we're going to do next, we're going to, in the next video, we're going to tighten up the cylinder head, and we're going to tighten up the rockers. So that's our next video. They're all in place now. I hope you've enjoyed the little video about the rocker assembly. It's not a major job. It's not an expensive job. But clean it out for peace of mind. You can check the shaft and make sure it's okay. And then we can go from there. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you like it, please subscribe to the channel. I'll answer any comments that you may have, and I hope you're enjoying the videos. So thanks very much for watching. Thank you.